CLGP, which increases the chances of a direct hit. Some of these CLGPs, including the Copperhead, have heat warheads instead of common He-guided and unguided scatter munitions, and sub-munitions have also been developed. One artillery shell containing several smaller munitions designed to attack a tank. A 6-gun battery might be able to fire several hundred sub-munitions in a minute or two. In one form, a shell bursts in the air above one or more tanks and several shaped charge, heat, or high explosive dual-purpose, HEDP, bomblets or grenades rain down. Any that hit a tank have a good chance to cause damage, since they are striking thin top armor. Another form scatters a number of small anti-tank mines in a tank's path, which probably will not penetrate a armor but can damage a track, leaving the tank immobile and vulnerable. More sophisticated are sub-munitions with a homing ability. Once again the shell explodes above the tank position and dispenses several sub-munitions. The munitions contain some circuitry to identify tanks, such as IR or millimeter radar. When a tank is identified, a rocket propellant is fired to shoot the projectile at the tank. These munitions will often descend by parachute, to allow time for target acquisition and attack. All of the above. But the CLGP can be fired from medium, 105 mm, 120 mm, and 125 mm, tank guns, and medium, 122 mm, 130 mm, 152 mm, and 155 mm, tube artillery. There has also been development of medium and large, 81 mm, 82 mm, and 120 mm, guided mortar munitions with both internal, for example, IR or ADAR, or external, i.e., laser designator, guidance. Missiles. The development of the wire-guided missile, or anti-tank guided weapon, ATGW, systems came into use in the late 1950s and 1960s that could defeat any known tank at ranges beyond that of the guns of the accompanying infantry. The United Kingdom, France, and other NATO countries were among the first to develop such weapons, for example, the Malkara missile by the United Kingdom and Australia in 1958. The Soviet Union, and now Russia, put extensive development into these weapons. The first man-portable model to enter service was the AT-3 in 1961. The United States was one of the last, coming up with the BGM-71 TOW in 1970. For a time, it appeared that the tank was a dead end. A small team of infantry with a few missiles in a well-concealed position could take on a number of the largest and most expensive tanks. In the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Soviet first-generation wire-guided missiles employed by the Egyptian forces inflicted heavy casualties on Israeli tank units, causing a major crisis of confidence for tank designers. Active protection systems, such as the Russian Arena Active Protection System, are starting to be more common, with similar systems such as the Israeli Iron Fist Active Protection System. The tank may be on a comeback because of active defense systems, which attack missiles in midair. This may allow the tank to be competitive on the battlefield once again. Guns. Anti-tank guns continued to be used in a number of conflicts past World War II around the world, such as Six-Day War, 39, and the South African Border War. 40. Soviet anti-tank guns in particular were exported to at least 18 other countries after being retired from service and have continued to see. South African tank gun retrofitted to an OQF-17 PDR carriage. Action. 41. Rather than developing specialized anti-tank artillery, some nations including South Africa and Israel, grafted obsolete tank guns on towed carriages for use in that role. 42. Mines. owing to greater sophistication of the tank, and engineering support available to tank units to detect and negate minefields. A considerable effort was made to develop more effective anti-tank mine technology in the effort to deny tank-led formations maneuver space, or channel their movement into unsuitable avenues of approach. Infantry. Australian Army Land Rover Series 2 gun buggy with an M40 recoilless rifle used in the anti-tank role. The search for a more suitable, longer-range delivery system took up much of the immediate post-war era. The US invested in their recoilless rifle, delivering a widely used 75mm design, and less common 90mm and 106mm designs. The latter was usually mounted rather than infantry handled. The 106mm formed the basis of a dedicated anti-tank vehicle, the Ontoos tank, which mounted 6 106mm rifles. The Australian Army also fitted M40 recoilless rifles to Land Rover Series 2 vehicles for use in an anti-tank role. The Soviet Union also built recoilless rifles in various calibers intended to be used as anti-tank weapons, most commonly 73mm, 82mm, and 110mm. Only the 73mm remains in service with the Russian military today, though the other two can be found all over the world due to Soviet military aid during the Cold War. The British used a 120mm, 4.7 in, designed to equip infantry units, the BAT series, which served from the 1950s until replaced by Milan, but it was generally too heavy for infantry use and had to be towed by, or mounted on, a vehicle for maneuverability. The Soviets developed the RPG-2 from the German Panzerfaust 150. Further development led to the ubiquitous RPG-7. The RPG-7 is one of the most widely used anti-tank weapons, favored most by soldiers of irregular militaries. The RPG-7 could fire a range of different warheads, from thermobaric warheads to heat or tandem charge heat warheads against explosive reactive armor-equipped tanks. The RPG-7 has a long combat history, and has been used in most wars from the Vietnam War all the way to present-day wars. In modern times, the RPG-7 is generally used in an urban environment, which would enhance their effectiveness due to the close ranges involved. However, the aging RPG-7 has evolved to the even more potent RPG-29, which has proven its worth in conflicts in the Middle East, damaging the Merkava IV-43, Challenger 2-44, and M1 Abrams 45 main battle tanks. In the 1960s, the U.S. Army adopted the M72 Law rocket, a lightweight, collapsible rocket launcher with ability to penetrate moderate thicknesses of enemy armor. During the Vietnam War, the weapon was used primarily against NVA and Viet Cong defensive works and emplacements, as there were few Soviet RPG-7 encounters against enemy armor. Overall, the Law was regarded as a success, though its ignition system frequently suffered from misfires in the heat and humidity of Vietnamese jungles. The LA was since been replaced by the AT-4 M136. Tactics. Changes in the anti-tank tactics since the Second World War mostly came from the appearance of new technologies, and increased firepower of the infantry mounted on fully armored vehicles. The most profound anti-tank technology has been the guided missile, which when coupled with a helicopter can mean that tanks can be engaged beyond ground line of sight, loss, and at one of their most vulnerable aspect, the top armor. Effectiveness. The effect of anti-tank warfare is to destroy or damage enemy tanks, or to prevent enemy tanks, and their supporting troops from maneuvering, which is the primary ability of a tank. In the U.S. Army, the degree of effect by an anti-tank weapon on a vehicle is referred to as either mobility kill, firepower kill, and catastrophic kill. In a mobility kill, M-kill, the vehicle loses its ability to move, for example, by breaking a tank track or bogie or damaging the engine. The targeted tank is then immobile, but may retain full use of its weapons, large cannon, heavy machine gun and smaller machine guns, and still be able to fight to some extent. However, a mobility-killed tank is a relatively vulnerable target to RPG or Molotov cocktail attacks, and it cannot maneuver to better firing positions. A firepower kill, F-kill, is some loss of the vehicle's ability to fire its weapons. For example, a tank may overheat on its main cannon, making the main gun inoperable. M-kills and F-kills may be complete or partial, the latter corresponding to reductions in a target's ability to move or fire. A catastrophic kill, K-kill, removes the tank's ability to fight completely. This may entail complete destruction of the tank or disabling or killing the crew. 2 damaged tanks with their tracks visibly destroyed and a damaged Willys Jeep displaying the 6th Armored Triangular Flash. South African Sherman tanks disabled in the fight to take the Perugia Highlands in Italy 1944. World War II. Current trends. Although the future of the tank was questioned in the 1960s due to the development of the anti-tank missiles, increases in thickness and composition of armor, and other improvements in tank design meant that infantry-operated systems were no longer sufficiently effective. By the 1970s, and the introduction of Cavorm armor by the British Army and reactive armor by the Soviet Army forced the heat rounds to be increased in size, rendering them less portable. Weapon systems like the RPG-29 Vampire and FGM 148 Javelin use a tandem warhead where the first warhead disables reactive armor while the second warhead defeats the shell armor by means of a heater-shaped charge. Today the anti-tank role is filled with a variety of weapons, such as portable top-attack artillery ammunition and missiles, larger heat missiles fired from ground vehicles and helicopters, a variety of high-velocity autocannon, and ever larger and heavier tank guns. One of the first lessons of the 2006 Israel-Lebanon conflict is the effectiveness of portable rocket-propelled grenades, in particular Russian-made RPG-29, and Metis-M, Knit and European Milan anti-tank missiles. See also anti-tank grenade, Bomber, Czech Hedgehog, list of anti-tank guns, references, notes, www.
Good, I did finish, and we have 2 minutes left for the video splitting. So that was anti-tank warfare, and there was a lot of links I like to look through. So I think I will need to make a new paper with my read list with notes number 2. Because there was anti-tank warfare, but I like to start to read about this 20 main battle tanks. So, but I have to look through this PDF documents. So I have to start. So I need a break to start do that, and. But I will make a video. I start to heating some hot foods. I have a little bit meatballs and rice. I have this meatball and rice. I will make a Danish video about. I will start to heat it. So, but I'm not a weapon expert. I'm not an expert in tanks and on missiles or tank warfare. But because of this war in Ukraine, they are mentioned talking about weapons and tanks. They're talking a lot about different kind of weapons. But war, modern war, that's kind of science. That's kind of science, how to destroy and kill the enemy. So they're using many thousands of millions and billions of dollars to research in that of the taxpayers' money. But there's always clever, a country always need to have a defense. It's always good to have a defense if you have a country. To have a rich country without any defense, that will not be very wise. Not with a country like Russia, close to Europe. But I need a break. I will start to charge my camcorder.